We're in California with Porsche to drive the updated Cayenne.
All right, we're getting to start with the Cayenne S and then switching to the Turbo GT. Oh, I love that.
Sounds great, the S.
The S has a new V8. Actually, we're going to run through this engine, all the engines for the updated Cayennes. What's under the hood of this thing, Andrea?
The Cayenne debuts with 4 different powertrain options. The V8 is back in the Cayenne S. It replaces the V6. It has 468 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. That's 34 horsepower and 37 pound-feet of torque more than the previous model. All models have an 8-speed Tiptronic S transmission.
So this updated Cayenne S, I think, has a lot of people excited that the V8 is back. You get that auditory response you just heard. But the base model is modified as well. It's still the 3-liter V6 turbo. It now generates 348 horsepower and 368 pound-feet of torque. That's an extra 13 horsepower and 36 pound-feet of torque.
And then there's the E-Hybrid. Porsche says that the EV range has increased. There are no official numbers, but they think it'll be about 20% more. The current model has 30.5 kilometers of range, or 17 miles. The E-Hybrid has the same 6-cylinder engine that's in the base Cayenne, in combination with a new electric motor that has been improved by 40 horsepower to 174 horsepower. The combined output increases to 463 horsepower. The battery increases in size from 17.9 kilowatt hour to 25.9 kilowatt hour. The E-Hybrid gets a new 9.6 kilowatt onboard charger now.
And the Turbo GT that we'll be driving at the end of the video is the top model and only available as a coupe. It also has the 4-liter V8 twin-turbo engine with an increase of 19 horsepower to 650 horsepower.
So you've got a lot of options here with this Cayenne. There have been extensive improvements. In fact, Porsche says that this refresh, this update, is probably the most extensive in Porsche history.
There's probably a reason behind that, and we're going to get into that as we go through the video. Might have to do with electrification, but we'll tell you more. What we're going to do right now is get into the base model, the key standard features. What do you get?
The base model comes with a 12.6-inch digital driver display, a 12.3-inch touchscreen, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a wireless charger, partial leather seats, heated front seats, 8-way power seats, driver seat memory, a heated steering wheel, 10-speaker audio system, matrix LED headlights, 20-inch wheels, and a temporary spare tire.
So we're off the PCH now. We're on a secondary road, a little bit quieter.
But I gotta say, it was quite quiet still, even on the highway.
And there's concrete dividers in California. You know what? We're getting sidetracked, Andrea. What do we have to put it in?
We gotta put it in S for subscribe, and if you can hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when all of our reviews drop, and then you can watch them.
And we do this, the Couple Car Review, twice a week. The first one drops on Wednesday.
We put another one out on Saturday.
So make sure you like and subscribe, but also follow along on Instagram. It's motormouth_Andrea to see what's going on behind the scenes. For me, it's motormouth_auto, and the links are below the like button.
So what's new? Well, a lot. Porsche has updated the chassis, powertrains, equipment, and this interior is basically all new. It looks a lot like the Taycan.
We're going to get into the interior more in Questions, Coffee, and Cars, so make sure you stick around. That's about halfway through the video.
Well, Porsche not only has improved the performance, but they've improved on-road and off-road capability, and they've just made it more comfortable and luxurious. So when you are driving along, whether you hit bumpy roads, whether you're on a highway, the cabin remains quiet yet comfortable.
You know what? We have 2 Cayennes that we own, and they're older generations. And one of my complaints about this model when it came out in 2019, I found it a little bit too soft for my taste. You do have to ratchet it up to the higher modes like Sport or Sport Plus to get more of a sensation. Now we should say this is also equipped, this one that we're driving and the GT later, with air suspension. So that is definitely going to make the car feel better. Just a couple of things you need to know. If you want to get the Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, that's actuators on the front of the car for pitch and roll, you have to add air suspension first. then you can add PDCC, and then you can add active rear steering. But in order to get those other two things, you have to get the air suspension.
Yeah, it's all about building your Cayenne. So if you want those extra features, you're going to pay extra for them. One thing I noticed is the steering. It feels precise. When you're on those windy roads, it's fantastic, but it is lighter. Our 2016 Cayenne, the steering is much heavier. When I get in and out of vehicles that we're test driving today, the steering's a lot lighter. I just can't believe how heavy it is in that model.
And the thing is, they do that also to give you a great sort of scope of what it can do.
Yeah.
So in city traffic, really easy to maneuver, but even when you're driving it on the limit, we haven't really been driving on the limit, but through some canyons, it's still light, but still excellent feedback.
I think that the new updates that they've made to the exterior are great. This has new available HD Matrix design headlights, and they have 32,000 pixels per headlamp. These are really incredible. The technology is something else.
Okay, so we're showing you a video of how they work. So you might have heard of the dynamic lights that were sold in Europe for years that had shutters that would basically stop oncoming cars from being blinded, highlighting features on the side of the road. This now does it all digitally with these pixels. So they can vary these 32,000 pixels to do what you need it to do. So it's really quite impressive technology. Here's a video of going down a dark country road, and it can highlight certain things. The faster you go, Andrea, we're not using it today,
no.
It narrows the beam of the light to shoot far, far down the road if you're driving on the Autobahn. What's the unique thing about these headlamps, Andrea? We get them in Canada. What happens to Americans?
Unfortunately, our US buyers, they do not get them in the US. Yeah.
Usually the rules are integrated for both Canada and the US. This is one step they've gone with. Excellent choice, Ottawa, to let these headlamps into the country. They're not cheap though. They're about $7,000 Canadian. Yeah. But you know what, Andrea? If I was buying this car, I would spend the money for those.
Yeah, you would?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I think that they're pretty cool for sure. I think that headlamps are obviously important, but it's a big nut, that's for sure, that you got to pay for them.
So you see a little bit more muscular attitude from this latest Cayenne. The bulges on the hood are a little crisper.
Yep.
The shoulders look like they're a little flatter. The dimensions are actually the same. The width and the length are the same.
Yep.
They just made the car look a little bulkier, and that's always a good thing with a performance SUV.
Well, it's really chiseled looking. I actually think that this is my favorite Cayenne of all of them. I think they did such a great job with the exterior design. I still think that it's a gorgeous vehicle, and Porsche just made it look better.
Now we move to the inside, and what do you think of all this? This is where the controversy starts.
These are some big changes to the interior. I mean, something that I would really have to get used to. I'm not crazy about the new shifter. It sits up on the dash here, which is a big change. There's an awful lot of piano black in here. We have a question about this coming up in Questions, Coffee and Cars, so we'll spend a little more time in it. Now you get a 12.3-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That is an addition that many will like. 12.6-inch digital driver display, and all new in the Cayenne is an available 10.9-inch touchscreen for the passenger.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's got this, what's the word? Polarized. That's the word I'm trying to think of. The effect on it. So you can really only see it directly on. The driver can't see it, so there's no distraction if they were to use this. This really looks like the Taycan interior.
Yeah.
And there's probably a reason why they're going to this interior. It's to future-proof it for electrification, and that is coming up in our hot topic. Is this going to be electrified? Stick around for that.
One thing Porsche does really well is the comfort level inside the cabin. These seats are fantastic.
You know what they are, Andrea?
They're
green. These are green seats.
This is a new color for the Cayenne. I think it looks really great. And then there's some other trim in here that's kind of a rose gold.
Yeah.
I think it looks sharp.
It's definitely eye-catching. So this is a color you're not going to miss on the inside.
Well, I have to say I would buy the green because it's different, it's unique, it's still going to be easy to clean like black. So I'm okay with that. I'm good with different. You might notice here that there's no panoramic sunroof. What? Yeah, you got to pay extra for that.
extra. You gotta pay extra for everything.
It's just the way it is with Porsche, but boy, is it ever a special brand.
All right, something that hasn't changed, the grab handles, so that's very good. And the dimensions of this, you know, take it from us, we've owned 3 Cayennes. They are fantastic family vehicles. You want to move kids around, you want to move stuff around, you get a very useful back seat and a really large cargo area.
Comparing the Cayenne to one of its competitors like the BMW X5, they are both spacious midsize SUVs, but you'll find the BMW offers a little more cargo space behind the second row at 33.9 cubic feet compared to the Cayenne at 27.2 cubic feet. It's the same for overall cargo space. The X5 gets 72.3 cubic feet of space and the Cayenne 60.3.
And I lifted up the cargo area and I was horrified because there's no spare tire, but this car is actually a Euro spec car they brought over for us to drive. It actually has Stuttgart plates in the back. The North American cars anyway will come with a spare tire. All right, let's get into your questions.
Time now for questions, coffee, and cars.
Your questions from Instagram.
I have to say, love the return of the V8 to the S model. Us too. Hate the new interior, especially the new shifter and starter button. What do you and Zach think?
Well, we mentioned it already. We've had 3 Cayennes, and this is the biggest departure so far for the brand. But I think it's future-proofing this car for electrification. And we're going to get to that in our hot topic. It's for me, the push-button thing I could care less about. It's the shifter I don't like.
Yeah, I don't like this shifter either. And we already mentioned there's quite a bit of piano black here at the center console. I don't mind the piano black on the doors. I can handle that. This, I think they could have gone with the same trim. It's kind of got a bit of a design element to it at the center console instead of just going with plain piano black for a luxury brand.
For most of this, they could actually wrap it in a vinyl or a leather and just have the HVAC controls, you know, prominent there for them to use. The nice thing is there's real switches and a real volume knob, so that is good.
Yeah.
Too much piano black. The shifter, it is just not... put it this way, we've struggled with it all day.
Yeah, it's not intuitive. I keep reaching actually to the steering wheel, like I'm looking for a column shifter. It's the oddest thing.
Yeah, it's like Andrea's thinking it's like a Mercedes-Benz one. So, and the most frustrating thing is there's a hole right here in the center of the console where they could just put the shifter. But this is all done because this is basically the Taycan dash.
Yeah.
This is going to stay when they do get to an electric version of that.
Would it be a deal breaker for you?
Well, you get used to anything after a while, right?
It wouldn't be a deal breaker for me only because I just love how this performs. I like the 2016 to 2018 model best for style inside and out. But are the new ones much better than the older models?
So that's the 958. That's the one we have. It actually was introduced in 2015.
Yeah.
And I think that was a bit of a high mark for us anyway, in terms of Cayenne interior design. They had all the switches, which we love. They've gone into the screen. You know what? There's big changes. Though one of the big ones, Andrea, is the base engine in that generation used to have just a VR6 engine.
Yeah.
Had just around 300 horsepower. Then with this model that was introduced in 2019, they went to the standard turbo V6. That was a big improvement. And so for most people, they don't buy the S or the Turbo GT, they buy the base model, and it's still a very good powertrain.
The 2016 model, which we own, I agree with you. I think the exterior looks great. It's really held up. I think the interior is amazing, although obviously the technology is not up to date in that model. But the suspension is definitely firmer. You're going to feel more bumps in the road in the earlier model. How did you feel with this one? Are you going to change the one you currently have?
No.
We are not.
Well, the big reason is a couple of reasons, Andrea. First of all, the prices have gone up a lot. I don't know if you've noticed, but cars are getting really expensive.
Yeah.
This is not an inexpensive car to start with, but the prices have gone up. And we have a unique one. We've got a diesel, which you just don't make them anymore. So we're going to keep that one for a while.
Yeah, and you're right, prices have gone up. but look at all this extra tech. Like when you compare this Cayenne to the 2016 model that we have, there are massive changes. I mean, we just don't have this technology in our vehicle at all.
No, if we didn't have one,
Yeah.
we would definitely be considering it. But
Absolutely.
we have one.
We have
Actually, we have two, so let's keep those. And now it's time for our hot topic. What's this one, Andrea?
My hunch is that this major update is the bridge to a fully electric Cayenne, and thereby avoids the need for an all-new ICE Cayenne in 2 to 3 years' time. Maybe this gives the ICE Cayenne another 4 to 5 years before a transition to a full EV.
Have a listen to this.
Oh,
Turbo
what is
GT.
I mean, so much fun, right?
Well, you're not getting that in an electric car. I just want to say that we have been driving this for a couple of hours before we turned the camera on.
Yeah.
And this is out of this world when it comes to the ability to be an ultra high performance SUV,
Yeah.
but at the same time remain absolutely comfortable.
So comfortable. The steering feels so good. It's precise. We're on this twisty road and it corners amazingly well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is performance driven. Porsche, you nailed it.
You're not going to get
Oh.
that from an electric vehicle.
No.
And there's something visceral about, well, you do get the big punch in the back of the seat with an electric vehicle, but I don't know, running through the gears, hearing the sound.
So we asked Porsche this morning at this drive event, well, is this the last of the Cayenne gas models now that you're going to move to an electric Cayenne, which they said we are going to have an electric Cayenne.
In the middle of the decade. This is a 2024 model.
Yeah.
So you can run the numbers. It's going to be within the next couple of model years.
Yeah.
They'll have something like this electrified.
But what they didn't confirm is, are they going to eliminate the gas model? I don't know. They never confirmed that. So as far as we understand for now, they're going to be sold side by side, but we'll see what the future holds.
Well, you have to also look at volume, right? Their biggest volume sellers are the Macan and the Cayenne.
Yeah.
And they're both going to be electrified. But what price, right? So these are already expensive vehicles, but the base models of both of those two products are the best sellers.
Yeah.
So if you come out with an electrified version that puts a lot of people out of the price range of these, then they still need to have something to offer the masses. And that's why I think they're going to continue to sell at least the base models of the Macan and the Cayenne alongside of these for a while.
And this Turbo GT is only available in the coupe.
Only available in North America.
Yes.
If you're watching this in Europe, no Turbo GT for you. All right, can this thing tow? What's the fuel economy and more in our vital stats?
Let's start with pricing. We'll do Canada first and then move on to the US. The base Cayenne starts at just under $90,000. In the US, the base Cayenne is just over $79,000, and the top Cayenne Turbo GT is just under $189,000.
The fuel ratings for all of these Cayennes has not been made public. So here is the fuel economy for the current model base V6. 13.8 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, 10.7 on the highway. That's 17 miles per gallon city, 22 miles per gallon highway. However, Porsche says that all trims should have an improvement in fuel economy. All of these Cayenne models can tow 7,700 pounds, and the warranty is 4 years, 80,000 kilometers, or 50,000 miles. Lightning round. 2 things we like. Can we limit it to 2? And 2 things we like to see it improve. Can we limit it to 2?
Well, I just love how this handles. Wow, the performance.
And I think the updates to the exterior are really quite good.
What I don't love in this
Oh, well, let me guess. The shifter.
The shifter. I don't like where it is, and I just don't like it.
I don't like all the shiny hard plastic. I thought after the last version where people like us complained about it, they've continued down that path. At least there's still some physical buttons here for the HVAC system.
This is way more than a facelift. Porsche has made some extensive updates to this Cayenne.
I think the sweet spot really is the Cayenne S.